AWS, or Amazon Web Services, is a cloud computing platform built by Amazon. Now, what does any of that mean? Well, think about it like this. Let's say you have a large size file, are running a heavy software, or processing data. Instead of running it on a local computer or server, you can use a bunch of powerful computers over the internet, hence the name of the cloud, that are provided by Amazon. You are essentially renting a supercomputer that exists on the internet to run powerful apps, or in our case of interest today, analyze a boatload of data from anywhere. Now, how does this computing system have anything to do with human impact? Let's analyze its effects to the pinnacle of motorsport in Formula One. Since its first Grand Prix in 1950, Formula One has had its cars powered by high octane fuel, and each race weekend contributes to thousands of liters of fuel burnt during all three practice sessions, qualifying, and race day. The CO2 emissions from this fuel play a negative role in climate change. Now, that isn't to say that there haven't been improvements, since engines have gotten more efficient over time, but the sport centered its development around speed and not sustainability. As of 2025, there are 24 races on the calendar spanning from March to December. The F1 circus has a race in nearly every continent and requires cars to be shipped along with tires, tools, and a ridiculous amount of gear by air, sea, and land. Additionally, all members of the team, mechanics, drivers, principals, etc., also travel across the globe for each race. This bit of air travel is the biggest source of F1's carbon footprint apart from the race themselves. Not only is the travel a huge component of F1's carbon footprint, but the resources required are also major, as cars require titanium, carbon fiber, and other materials which are tested when developed into new parts through wind tunnels and track days that use energy and build waste. Every single front wing on a car is built multiple times over and tested multiple times over a year to cut down on every microsecond available for races. This repetitive format wastes materials, uses a lot of energy, and holds emissions. F1 themselves are aware, and the FIA, which nobody likes, released a statement that documents the entire carbon footprint of the sport. A few of the statistics include that 256,000 metric tons of CO2 per year are emitted into the atmosphere. 0.7% of those emissions are only from the races though. Everything else comes from the logistics, team travel, and operations. By 2030, F1 aims to have a net zero carbon on the environment, race with 100% sustainable fuel as early as the new regulations next year, develop more efficient logistics and hybrid engines, recycle materials, and cut down plastic use. This process, however, can be facilitated through the application of AWS. As mentioned, F1 teams require a ton of materials when constructing cars. With AWS, teams are able to apply the cloud computing to run simulations on the aerodynamics of their car. In doing so, teams will not only reduce track time outside of the F1 season, but also test hundreds, even thousands of designs of something as small as the floor of an F1 car before even a single part is built. By the end of this year, 2025, AWS is focusing on orienting toward 100% renewable energy, which means its supercomputers will be powered by solar, wind, and hydroelectric energy instead of fossil fuels. Every bit of F1 data will be processed without the use of non-renewable energies, which will lead to lower emissions even while running powerful AI and machine learning models. For the biggest cut on their carbon footprint, F1 teams can run remote simulations and varying strategy models in the cloud, which will cut down on the amount of team members and equipment moved across the globe. AWS allows team members to work from anywhere since it is available on the internet. Reduced team travel will reduce fuel consumption for travel and lower emissions in the atmosphere. However, that's not all. Apart from reducing F1's carbon footprint, AWS can be applied to the race themselves to improve the performance of teams during weekends. With AWS's ability to run massive simulations in real time and store a surplus of race data, video, and telemetry, teams can teach AIs certain ways to predict which lap would be best to take pit stops or when weather conditions may get tricky for drivers. Broadcasts themselves will also improve by adding graphics on screen for viewers to enjoy and understand races that either tell the usage of a driver's ERS battery, tire degradation, overtake probability, etc. The ability to process multiple data points in a race, like those mentioned prior, will allow developments in race strategies during races that may never have been known before. An increase in fan enjoyment could also be seen as the on-screen graphics show statistics and predictions that may have been otherwise impossible to know. In the grand scheme of things, by 2030, AWS could play a vital role in race weekends by allowing race engineers to make split-second calls without the aid of others, analyze weather patterns that could turn the tide in a race, and build cars to be quick while appealing to the specific manner in which a driver drives a car. So for right now, AWS could be left as just a cloud computing service, but it could lead to a greater impact in the real world, with Formula One being a prominent example. Currently, it is innovating the way teams race, develop, and think about their racecraft, strategies, and future. AWS will help reduce the carbon footprint of F1 through simulations and remote data analysis, which allows engineers and drivers to push the limits of a car in much cleaner and more efficient ways. In F1, every 10th, 100th, and 1000th of a second matters, but by 2030, sustainability will be optimized much more than it is now. So whether it is a better race strategy, smarter pit stops, or less cargo taken through the skies, AWS is allowing F1 to shift gears, and no, not just on track, but to ensure a brighter future for the sport and the technology it develops as a whole. Thank you very much for watching.